I'ma just say it. This is the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. You read the title? That's what I think. I have never had a more disappointing, infuriating, bland, yet baffling experience with a film since watching this oh so awful film that takes second place on the worst animated films I've ever seen list. No other movie, let alone animated movie, I haven't ever seen has made me so infernal to the point where I fly into animalistic rampages at the mere thought of any of this film's seemingly endless matrix of problems. This movie isn't even a so bad it's good kind of thing. It's just a pathetic work of schlock by an incompetent idiot who stumbled his way into the director's chair due to sheer nepotism. And I can already see some of you thinking that, whoa, come on, yo. It's a Studio Ghibli movie. No, it can't be bad. None of these movies are bad, except for these. You're just being ridiculous. And to these people, I say, yeah. Yeah. It is just ridiculous to be this mad about an obviously lackluster, terrible CG animated atrocity that none of us had any faith in. It was obviously a stupid cash grab from a dead studio to appeal to the unsuspecting youngins. Why even care about such an obviously useless failure? Well, for me at least, it's because this studio is more than that. This studio is above useless, boring, cynical cash grabs that don't even pretend to justify their own existences. This studio is beyond such capitalistic, shameless trash that has become so incentivized in this industry. This studio doesn't deserve this fate because this studio makes art. Beautiful, meticulously crafted art with endless amounts of love poured into every aspect of it. While these movies aren't perfect, the highlights come together to create one of cinema's greatest and most influential backlogs with astonishing classics, excellent deep cuts, and minutes of wondrous, exquisite animation cuts, even in the movies that I don't like as much, except for this one! Good job, Ghibli! You made a movie worse than Ocean Waves, with even more frustrating characters, worse animation, and somehow, by some impressive margin, a worse ending. You have to try to be this level of bad. Earwig and the Witch is abysmal. It's worse than all of these movies combined. It's even more cynical than Cars 2. Its art design is worse in this movie, of which I absolutely refuse to say the name of. It's even dumber than some of these movies, and it has an even worse protagonist. This movie has the worst protagonist I have ever seen in any work of fiction. Yes, any work of fiction. Earwig on her own is an even worse character than the girl from Ocean Waves and honestly the rest of those idiots. Its story is a comedic joke to even call it that. It is incomprehensible at points. Characters just kind of exist in the space that this disaster inhabits, and it has no rhyme or reason at any point throughout the entire experience. This movie is insanely derivative of every single Ghibli classic you can think of. And yes, I mean all of them. Its animation is stiff, boring, unappealing, and at times hideous. And again, the character designs are terrible and look worse than Norm of the North. Yes! Norm of the goddamn North, which, yes, I do think is better than this movie. Its story, while also completely incomprehensible, at least has a discernible message. At least it has visuals with character. At least the music makes sense. And at least this movie ends. Oh yeah, this movie doesn't end. I refuse to call it an ending. I will never, you can't make me, but don't you worry your little head. We will get to that ending. Anyway, back to shooting flames out of my mouth. This movie has the worst expression work I've ever seen in any animated film. Absolutely every single animated film I have ever seen! They look so uncanny. It shouldn't be fair. It's disgusting. I hate it. It makes me unreasonably mad, and that isn't even the worst part. This is only the start of the meteor. One of the problems that I have with this movie. It is only the tip of the iceberg of all the problems that I have with this absolutely annoying film. But don't you worry, we'll continue this later. But before I continue about any of that, how about we talk about what likely contributed to this movie being so abominable? And I promise I'll do my best to sound significantly less insane than I just sounded. Now that I've screamed my brains out about the worst movie of all time, don't worry, we'll get back to that screaming fit later. Let's get a bit of background on this thing. First, the director. Goro Miyazaki, the director of this movie, is the son of anime king Hayao Miyazaki, and he's been directing movies for a while now. To go a little bit into his backstory, Goro Miyazaki was doubtful in his skills as an anime creative growing up due to the legend status of his father. As a result, he was hesitant to jump into the field of making anime, and instead chose the route of agriculture. For a while, he worked as a construction consultant and helped make gardens and stuff like that. Then he and some guy, I guess, came together to make Tales from Earthsea, which he and this guy wrote. Fun fact about Tales from Earthsea. Tales from Earthsea was based on a book series that people have been trying to adapt forever. Hell, Hayao Miyazaki himself and numerous other anime directors before him have been trying to adapt something from this lady's books forever. But she kept rejecting all of them on the basis that she thought of Disney when she thought of animation. So she just rejected it. Hilarious. But she only let Ghibli adapt her stupid books after Hayao won an Oscar for Spirited Away. He was then asked to direct the movie, but he was too busy working on Howl's Moving Castle and stuff. And we're back to Goro and this dude, I guess. So I guess Ghibli had the grand idea to ask Goro to come in and storyboard for the film, even though he had absolutely no experience making anime prior to this film. And somehow, he even stumbled his way into the writer's room and ended up writing the movie. But if that wasn't enough, Toshio Suzuki then asked him to direct the film after seeing his storyboards. This made Hayao advancedly angry and even caused a bit of strain in the relationship between the two. Goro and Hayao. Just needed to make that clear. So Goro directs the disaster, and then we have the cinematic brain fart. Surprisingly, after this point, Goro continued to direct stuff, including Earwig and the Witch. But before we can really dig into Earwig again, let's get a little context on Earwig and the Witch. The book, not the movie. Because it's a book. Anyway, Earwig and the Witch was originally a book by Diana Wynne Jones. I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name. She died. Rest in peace. The lady who wrote Howl's Moving Castle. Yeah, that one. It was released at a time that I forget that I will show on screen at some point in me saying this, and from what I know, it's not seen as one of her better stories, if still enjoyed. But one slightly notable, just innocuous detail about this book is that it's essentially a prelude to a much bigger story that never gets resolved because Diana died before it could be finished. The book itself doesn't even conclude its plot threads due to it literally not being done. The book was released posthumously. And the genius that is Goro Miyazaki and his stupid team decided, hey, let's try to adapt an incomplete story into a 1 hour and 22-minute film. Now, I could actually see this working on paper if they were to take the story as is and expand on it, and while maybe not fully realize Diana's vision, at least still bring together a worthwhile, more fleshed out version of the story. No! Doesn't happen. They don't do that. They just leave it as is, seemingly. What a brilliant idea that totally makes for a compelling cinematic experience! And now we have established our team players. Let's play ball!